What is up, YouTube? I am Eric and you are watching Retro Video Game Pickups. In this video we are talking about PlayStation 2 extreme sports games. So if you like games, consoles, or product reviews, please consider subscribing and hitting that bell notification. With that being said, let's hop into it. Okay, so usually when I talk about something on the channel, it's either like a sports game or like a specific title or whatever like that is. But this one, for this video, I kind of twisted that a little bit. Now this is about sports games, and it is about extreme sports, obviously by the title, but I guess some of these would be titled as extreme normally, and some of these probably wouldn't. So I've got 5 PlayStation 2 games here in my hand that I want to talk about, and all of these are awesome games, and you'll notice one theme going throughout these whole things, as these are actually games that I have played when I was younger, and I still love them to this day. So what I'm going to do is talk about each one, maybe show some footage if I can get some good footage of it, and then that's kind of what we're going to do today. I've got 5 games for the PlayStation 2, so with that being said, let's check out the first one. Okay, so this first game is ATV Off-Road Fury 2. Now, would you consider this a sports game? Maybe not. Maybe consider it more of a racing game, but the idea is kind of the extreme sports, think like X Games or something like that, and this kind of falls within that range. So we're talking about ATV Off-Road Fury. There are a ton of these. I believe there are 4 that came out on the PlayStation 2, and honestly, this is an awesome game. Now, if you think about it, like now, if I was to go and buy this game, I probably wouldn't buy all 4 of them, but whenever this came out, I loved it so much. Playing this was so much fun, and honestly, I ended up getting one of those controller steering wheels with the pedals in order to play this game, and honestly, it was this or like NASCAR to race with for me back then, at least. There's a bunch of better games when it comes to racing, but this is one of those games that it's off-road, it's a bunch of fun. Now, if you look at it and are expecting today's graphics, you're gonna be sadly let down, but that's okay. This game has that nostalgia feel for me, and it's just so much fun. And so that is why I wanted to talk about this game. Now, I played this when it came out. I got it on the PlayStation 2, obviously, and had so much fun. But I kind of wondered what you guys thought about this. There have been a ton of motocross, ton of like ATV kind of racing games over the past years, but when this came out, this was one of the only ones around, and it was top notch. So I had to add this to the list just because it was such a fun game when it came out, and how I loved playing this so much as a kid as well. Okay, so to bring it in back more over the top extreme sports, I kind of wanted to talk about something that you kind of wouldn't expect, and of 2 of these games on here you probably wouldn't expect to be considered an extreme sport, but the game itself makes it extreme, and that is NBA Street 2. Now think of the whole NBA Jam game and basketball. This is like an arcade version of basketball that's gone to the max, gone to the extreme, some might say, and it's just over the top and awesome. Now, if you notice, this is an EA Sports big game, which is amazing. I loved these old EA Sports big games. I'll talk about some more in a little bit, but this one was so much fun. It took what you would expect from a basketball game and morphed it into more of like an arcade feel, but it falls into the extreme category just because of how ridiculous it is and how like extremely over the top it is. And that's why I wanted to talk about this one. It had some crazy stuff. You could play with old school NBA legends. You could play some crazy stuff. I love this game, and it was so much fun, and I think that is why this game made it to this list. Now, if you think about this, you probably don't think of basketball as an extreme sport, but this game goes above and beyond, and it just kind of blows the top off what you would expect to find when you just bought a regular NBA game. Honestly, this is so much fun and has so much stuff added to it that I think this just fits well on this extreme, over-the-top kind of gameplay and game overall. So I wanted to add this because it was so much fun. Okay, so this game, you're gonna think totally extreme, over the top, everything like that, and that is Freekstyle, which is an EA Sports big game as well, so we've talked about that twice now. We've got one more coming in a little bit, but this is such an awesome game. If you like motocross, this is one of those games that takes motocross and morphs it into this over-the-top, completely ridiculous game. The music is awesome, it goes well with it, and it just takes what you would expect and goes over the top, basically. So motocross, you're racing, you're doing your tricks. There's some crazy tricks. You can use like a boost, which is very awesome. I loved this so much as a kid. Honestly, this was so much fun. I played this with my dad, and we obviously played the crap out of it. We loved it, and it's just that nostalgia factor of how over the top this motocross game could have been. It could have been a boring, just kind of racing game, but they took what that racing game was and made it funny, made it comical. The characters say funny things and get into ridiculous kind of predicaments, I guess is the right way to say. But you could pick up different outfits that make your character look ridiculous. Some without their shirts on, some with like football pads with spikes. Like, it's literally over the top. So if you have not played Freekstyle, it's one of those games that you definitely should think about playing because it is so much fun and it's just extremely over the top, to be honest. Okay, so this next game is going to be a game that I think took this series to the next level, but at the same time, it brought in some funny things that you kind of didn't expect. It brought in some awesome stuff that you had from previous games, and all around it just made this a fun experience. The series already was amazing, and we're talking about Tony Hawk's American Wasteland. Now, whenever I heard about this game, I wanted to play it, and I never quite could until I figured out that this was at my dentist office. That is the very first time I played Tony Hawk America's Wasteland, because honestly, I had so much fun with this and I had to play it. At that time, I had never played it before, and I knew that it was a Tony Hawk game, but I was like, this is so a little bit different than what I was used to with the Pro Skaters, and I think this one is just funny because it kind of takes what Tony Hawk's Pro Skaters was and builds upon that with like a comedy level, the character level, and it just was so much fun. So you could also use a bike on this one, which was something that kind of blew my mind when it came to it, and I really believe this probably is what fueled kind of the Freekstyle. The game before this kind of gave that the momentum, or the kind of the ability to create a motocross game like that, because this is the foundation. Tony Hawk and all his games were the foundation of skateboarding games, and they brought something new and exciting to the game of, or the world of video games. And honestly, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater and American Wasteland and all of their games are totally awesome, and this is an over-the-top version. So I wanted to talk about this. It's an extreme sport with like extreme added on just to be funny and make it more enjoyable. Now, it has a ton of awesome music is great on here, a ton of awesome tracks. So definitely, if you haven't played this game, like, you should. It's a cheap game. It's Tony Hawk, which means it's gonna be awesome, so you need to check it out, and that is one of the games I wanted to talk about. Okay, so last but absolutely not least, is NFL Street, and we're talking about yet again another one of those EA Sports big titles. Now, there are a bunch of these games, and these games kind of took it to the next level. They took something like a sport like NFL or NBA or even the motocross, and they made it completely awesome. They made it where it was less serious and more like comical and more laid back, and you could have some fun with it. They gave you more characterization, like the characters were more like street, obviously for this one, street So they weren't like all padded up in all their uniform and everything. Some people had like tank tops on, some people had just their pads. Like, this is a game that took what this sport was, which is football, and made it, I should say American football, and made it something more than that. It took that element of being like raw and combining that with football, relaxing the rules a little bit, making it more over the top and extreme, and you got an awesome game like NBA or NFL Street. Now, I talked about the NBA Street earlier, Volume 2, because that was my favorite one. But this one, I mean, come on. You gotta be able to play this game. It's a fun game. This reminds me especially of NFL Blitz, with that new twist with better graphics than Blitz, obviously, and just so much fun. This was one of those games that, yet again, was extreme and over the top, but was still fundamentally awesome. So when they take something like football and throw all this awesome stuff, characterization, kind of the moves you can flaunt and do all that stuff, the dances when you score a touchdown, all that stuff is crazy. And so I wanted to add that just because it was so ridiculous and over the top. Okay, so we just talked about 5 PlayStation 2 games. We're talking about NFL Street, Tony Hawk's American Wasteland, Freekstyle, NBA Street 2, and ATV Off-Road Fury 2. Now, this is kind of an interesting video because I took games that probably would never be combined and I kind of put them all in this video because 1, we talked about sports games. 2, we talked about extreme sports. So some of these games in themselves are extreme, and then other of these games are games that are over the top and extreme. So like ATV Off-Road Fury and Freekstyle and Tony Hawk are very extreme sports, whereas NBA Street and NFL Street are just sports, but then these games are over the top and make them extreme as well. So I kind of wanted to be a little bit different, a little bit creative there, and so I combined all of these into this video for you guys. So I want to say thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Make sure you hit that bell notification, that way you know when I post more videos, which is every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. And honestly, one more time, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to be safe, practice social distancing, stay at home, wash your hands, stay 6 feet away from each other. Do whatever you can, that way you are safe and healthy. So, one last time, thank you so much for watching, and make sure you have a good day.